a few months ago, I got these lenses. Actually got these lenses as a birthday gift. It was an early birthday gift. I'm gonna give you a little piece of what I believe these lenses are good for. Now, as you can see, this is a fully manually operated lens. It goes from T2 to T16. And maybe if I zoom in here, you can actually see the aperture. We've got it open, and we've got it closed. Now this, when I first started seeing lenses like this on other creators' videos and actually seeing some behind the scenes of how movies were made, it was mind-blowing to me. And I'm thinking, how do they focus? How do they get the look? Now, going back to when I started watching movies and still to this day, racking focus. When you see a scene come into play, and I'm going to put an example on the screen right here. You see a scene come into play on a movie, and it's completely blurry, and then it focuses into the point that you're supposed to be viewing. Or you're focusing on something close all the way out into another, depth. It's showing the depth in the scene. So basically the item would be either the talent or the item on the table, whatever the case is. Something either far away or close, and they're actually racking focus, not with the aperture, but with the focus itself. So to the point of these lenses, 7Artisans, I did a little research on these guys. I did a little research on the company prior to even purchasing them, and then more so after I purchased them. I just wanted to get an idea, okay, is this just another lens that comes from overseas that's built in some giant factory that nobody cares about the actual outcome of the lens, and they're just looking to push product out for a very inexpensive price? Because the price point on these lenses, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll put the correct number on the screen. I believe the 50 millimeter is around $359 or $379, and I also have here the 85 millimeter, which is another lens that I had gotten for my birthday. It was an early gift. This is in the same series. The only difference I see between these two lenses is the actual aperture ring. So if you look closely, you can see here that your aperture on the 50, it moves very loose. It's very loose. And I've heard other creators speak about this. One of the biggest drawbacks to having such a loose aperture is if you're hand focusing or if you're hand pulling, obviously without a focus wheel, if you're doing this manual focus with your hands, meaning you're gripping the ring itself, as opposed to using a tool that's meant to do the job, if you bump this aperture, you're going to change your aperture. It's just the way it is. There's a couple of ways that you can prevent that, and one of the ways that I found is kind of resting my hand close to the aperture while I'm filming. But in any case, if you look at the difference between the 85 millimeter, it has much more resistance. Now for me, that is my only gripe with these lenses, is the difference between the aperture, the way it moves from the 85, compared to the 50 millimeter. Other than that, these lenses are designed to work in conjunction with each other. They're in a series. There's the 85, there's the 50, and they also make a 35. The only problem with the 35 is the reason why I didn't opt to get it was because it's for APC, and I shoot on the Canon R6, which is a full frame camera. Now, if you notice with these two lenses, both the aperture and the focus rings are at the same height. You want to swap out from the 50 to the 85 or the 35. You could do that very easily without having to move around your focus pulling, tool, which I think is one of the unique aspects of these lenses. Set aside the price. I think these lenses are the best bang for the buck in this price range. Now, I may be biased because I've only worked with these lenses, but prior to getting these, prior to me even receiving these as a gift, I did a load of research because for me, I wanted something that would give a unique look, have more cinematic feel to my filming, but also be in a budget that I wasn't going to look back on and say, hey, you know what? Man, this really sucks. I bought these, they were a good price, but at the end of the day, they're just a waste, right? Back to the company. When I did the research on the company, and then just to freshen up for this video, they were a group of 7 guys that were, in 2015, the story goes on their website, this is directly from their site, the story went that they went out to dinner, they discussed the industry, that one was an avid Leica lens collector, another one was a factory, like a tooling master, like a factory master. And the other guys were good at design. So they all came together, they had some drinks, they had some dinner, and they all decided to start this company. So I think this is really beneficial for people like myself who are, number one, on a tight budget when it comes to creating, cinematic content. I'm not in Hollywood as of yet, so all of my budgeting has to be done. I have to be very careful with my spending, especially with gear. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of why I think these lenses are really good for the money, why I think if you're just starting out in exploring cinematography and you want to work with manual lenses as opposed to autofocus lenses, I think these are a really good option, and I really don't think you're going to regret the purchase. Will you upgrade in the future when you get bigger and bigger jobs, higher paying clients? Of course you will. Will you want to upgrade mainly for the aesthetics? Possibly. There are a few things with these lenses that some people will look at and say, man, I really love the look of that. And then there's a few things on these lenses that some people will say, you know what, that's really not for me. I need to spend the extra money and have those, few discrepancies kind of pulled out. What I really think is unique about this lens as well is that you can actually shoot photos with it. I've shot a number of photos, and I'm going to put some on the screen. I actually did a photo shoot with a really, really beautiful talent down in Miami. It was the end of August. And I used the Canon RF 24-105. I also used the 50mm 7Artisans T2. And let me tell you, you can see the difference. It's very, very difficult to see the difference after it's edited, after you put it through Lightroom. But I'm telling you, you can see the difference in softness. It has a certain character. I believe that's one of the reasons why I went for these. When I had saw the reviews, when I read up on them, but when I also saw the look they gave. So right now we're in a beautiful park. I have some footage that I'm going to put here in this video from Miami. I was down in Miami yesterday doing the first part of this video. I also had some shots local to where I am in Royal Palm Beach at night. I got some really cool shots of the evening, some shots of basically the street lights. The trees were blowing really nicely last night. I was getting some really cool effects there, just testing out the lenses. So as far as client work, as of right now, I haven't used these on any client gigs. I have a client gig coming up this Thursday that I will be using this on, as well as my 24-105, maybe the 50mm. Most likely, the 24-105 Canon lens is my kind of go-to lens for photography for client work, mainly because it's autofocus, it's very sharp, it's a low enough aperture at f4, and in most cases, f4 for me is just enough. Down the road, yes, I will have lower apertures. That was another reason why I went for these, was because they were 2 stops lower than what I currently work with. They were manual focus. The build quality is absolutely amazing. This is an all aluminum body. This is all metal. The rings for aperture and focus are completely metal. They're embedded into the body of this thing. I'll put some clips on the screen. The cap is metal. It has a nice soft felt interior. When it goes on, it doesn't scuff. It grips pretty well. I wouldn't do that over concrete, but you get what I'm saying. It's not falling off. Comes with a normal standard rear cap, and they make this in a few different mounts. I know they make it in the L mount, they make it in the RF, they make it in the Sony E mount, and I believe one other mount. I will put all the mounts on the screen right now. So other than that, I would say, look, if you're on a budget, and or if you're looking for something unique, something different, check out the images on this thing. Check out a couple of the clips that I was able to get with this lens. As far as the 85mm, It comes in at the same category. The color science on this and the 50mm, from what I've seen, are identical. There is no difference between the color on this and the color on this. And I think that's a positive, especially when you're taking raw images or raw video into your software, your editing software. It's a lot easier to color match from this to this. Now, I have seen in other reviews that the 35mm does have a bit of color differentiation, meaning I think it's on a touch warmer side. Don't quote me on that. But as far as the look and feel, they're identical. So I'm really excited about these lenses. I think they're really, really good workhorses. They do what they need to do. They're built really well. I'll put a couple of links in the description to where you can find these. They will be affiliate links if you feel like purchasing them through my affiliate links. It's not much, it's an Amazon link. I'm not sponsored by 7Artisans. This is not a sponsored video. These were paid for with my own money or as it was a gift. They were gifted to me by a family member, so at the end of the day, subscribing to the channel for me would mean more, and just making, throwing a comment in there and saying, hey, I love these lenses, or hey, you're wrong, I hate these lenses. Either way, we can have a conversation about it. My name is Kevin Haggerty. I'm the owner of Kevin Haggerty Media Productions. I work with drones, I work with photography, and I work with videography, from the smallest clients to, God willing, one day the biggest clients. So thanks for tuning in. Have an awesome day, and take care.